Every clip you're about to see was sent directly to Wham Bam Dashcam, including the insane accidents, dumb drivers, and plenty of road rage. Chris was headed to get a haircut when the driver of a Nissan Rogue failed to yield and turned across his lane. Chris stood on the brake pedal, but it wasn't enough. When Chris's 1997 Toyota 4Runner slammed into the Rogue SUV, the impact sent the Toyota onto its side and totaled both vehicles. Chris was able to climb out of his car's sunroof with the help of some bikers who witnessed the crash. Both vehicles had to be towed away, and Chris is sad that his 4Runner was wrecked with the odometer fewer than 4,000 miles away from 500,000 miles. When police arrived, they found the Nissan driver at fault. Chris used the insurance settlement to buy a 2005 4Runner, 8 years newer than the last one. The Model Y southbound on I-5 in Seattle, Washington. Watch what the driver of the Subaru Legacy wagon in front of him did. The driver of the Subaru drifted into the center lane before realizing their mistake, overcorrecting and losing control, swerving back and forth before flipping over. This reminds me of the Moose test, a standard safety test that determines how well a vehicle can evade a suddenly appearing obstacle. And flipping over during the test is considered the worst possible grade. Thankfully, all the other cars were able to stop in time and no further collisions occurred. Steve-O told us it was scary to witness this happen from right behind the Subaru. We searched the news about the collision, but nothing was reported, which hopefully means everyone involved was okay. This submitter asked to remain anonymous, and you'll see why. He was driving over 70 miles per hour in a 40 mile per hour residential zone on his way to see family at an assisted living facility. When he approached a roundabout, traffic ahead of him was yielding for traffic in the roundabout. Even though he hit the brakes and tried to swerve, his tires lost all traction. Still going 50 miles per hour, he slammed into an Amazon van. He's filed an insurance claim, but he doesn't know yet if the car is totaled. Elon was taking a trip to IKEA to return some stuffed animals when the truck in front of him kept swerving back and forth in the lane. Elon didn't think anything of it at the time as he was cruising along at around 70 to 80 miles per hour. Suddenly, the truck began hitting the rumble strips, causing a circular metal piece to fly off, along with a wheel. The tire went bouncing before eventually climbing up and over the median, then smashing into an oncoming car's windshield. Thankfully, nobody was in the seat where it struck. Elon told us, based on his rough calculations, the tire appeared to travel almost 250 feet before hitting the car. Elon contacted the police to offer his Tesla cam footage and to see if everyone was okay, but he was told he couldn't submit footage or request information since he wasn't involved in the incident. Elon immediately put on his hazard lights and slowed down while the truck slowly drifted toward the right shoulder. Paul was driving in Tijuana, Mexico, in an area notorious for reckless drivers. While the driver behind him was looking down at her phone, she rear-ended Paul's Kia Rio. The Mazda had no front license plate. It had a California plate in the back, but was unregistered in Mexico and uninsured. It's no surprise that the driver and her passenger fled the scene, leaving Paul to pay a $1,000 deductible. He told us the police are looking for them, so if you know who they are, let us know and we'll pass it along. Tanner was driving his Model 3 in Burbank, California, when he suddenly encountered a green Kia Soul in the middle of an intersection. Tanner thought the Kia driver was turning around, but then he realized she was blocking the road. Then she made a U-turn before swerving around the two lanes like a dumb driver, as Tanner puts it. She then cut off a Toyota 4Runner and floored the gas all the way to the next intersection. She then did more donuts, and then it looks like she took off, only to come back for more. While spinning in circles, she nearly hit a Toyota Prius C. She then blocked the road, refusing to let anyone pass. Tanner waited for an opening, then floored the accelerator to get past her. In his rearview mirror, he watched her continue to block the road and wave her hand while people honked at her. ABC7 reported that she was arrested by the California Highway Patrol after leading them on a pursuit. Actually, Tanner had only seen the beginning of the incident as the Kia driver was doing donuts in front of the Writers Guild of America strikers protesting outside of Warner Brothers Studios. ABC7 reported that police tried to pull the woman over, but she fled before making her way onto I-110, eventually leading police south to Los Angeles. Officers then successfully deployed a spike strip. With her tires deflating, she was eventually pulled over near Century Boulevard. Officers approached the vehicle, shutting down the highway and stranding commuters while the CHP officers began a standoff with the woman. Eventually, they were able to pull her out of the vehicle. What a crazy... Nathaniel was driving to class when a driver up ahead of him stopped, probably trying to figure out how to turn left around the scene of a previous collision.
Dash cam, here I come.
Sadly, the driver right behind them was rubbernecking and rear-ended the SUV. Remember, when you see any dangerous situation while driving, pay attention in every direction. Nathaniel asked us to shout out his roommates Jake and Miguel and told us they watch Wham Bam videos together all the time. Josh had parked his brand new Model Y at home in Gold Coast, Australia when a large tree fell over the garage. The tree fell very close to his Tesla, but thankfully, the Jazz gave its life to protect the Tesla. Josh filed an insurance claim, and the total cost to repair the Jazz, the roof, and the fence was over $15,000 US. Kalen was headed north on I-495 when he merged right in anticipation of slowdowns in the left lane. A few seconds later, he watched a pickup truck rear-end a sedan. Kalen didn't stick around due to the bad traffic, but he remarked that he finally had some collision footage after being a commuter in DC for almost a year. Evan was driving down a highway when a Hyundai driver, distracted by an accident seen on the left, suddenly swerved into Evan's lane to avoid rear-ending a Mini Cooper. Evan dodged onto the shoulder to avoid being sideswiped, but he wasn't sure if contact had been made. Thankfully, he couldn't find any damage to his Jeep Grand Cherokee after stopping. Kresha and her husband belonged to a car club, and they were headed out on a snowy day to take some cool winter photos of their cars. As they took an exit from the highway and were planning to make a right turn, her husband slid on a patch of ice before hitting a curb. By the time Kresha saw this happen, she was already on top of the same patch of ice. She braked and tried to turn, but it was too late. His car, the BMW, sustained a broken control arm, a missing rocker panel, and a damaged wheel. Repairs cost $7,000 US. Her car, the Tesla, sustained damage to both driver's side wheels.
Oh no.
Slow, baby.
That's completely broken.
The gear assembly and front bumper were replaced, along with the lateral arm, control arm, and wheel well housing. The total repair cost was over $14,000 US. Ouch! That's over $21,000 US altogether. That's one expensive photo shoot. Kresha sent along a shout out to her car club at Night Kids Racing Team on Instagram. Logan was going around 50 miles per hour when a Jeep driver pulled out in front of him. Logan made an evasive maneuver and swerved around the SUV. Thankfully, no contact was made. Our next submitter wasn't so lucky. On a highway in Tampa, Florida, when a white pickup flew past him in the passing lane. The speeding pickup driver then dove for an exit, attempting to squeeze between a semi-truck and another truck pulling a trailer. That attempt failed, and the pickup hit the trailer of the semi-truck, sending it rolling in a cloud of dust. Randy had already passed the exit when he realized the extent of the crash, but he immediately called 911. He offered the operator his Tesla cam footage, but they never called him back for it. George was on his way home from work when he was nearly hit by a taxi driver who drove across every lane to make his exit.
Fucking idiot.
George was shocked at how close the taxi got to hitting his car, but his quick swerve made the difference and prevented any contact from being made. SJ Kidd was driving home from class on Highway 84. The driver of the box truck in front of him changed his mind about where he was going at the last second and sideswiped SJ Kidd's Model 3. SJ Kidd told us the driver was unlicensed and had no proof of insurance. SJ Kidd didn't contact the police because he didn't want to make the situation any more complicated than it needed to be. Instead, he spoke with the company manager and she emailed him a copy of her insurance coverage, so he thought everything would be fine. Now SJ Kidd says the company is denying responsibility and he had to make a claim with his own insurance provider. The total cost of repairs is over $21,000 US. Raul was driving his Model 3 in Dallas, Georgia. As he approached an intersection, he moved into the turn lane when a Nissan driver suddenly turned across the turn lane and sideswiped Raul's Tesla. They both contacted the police and filed insurance claims. Raul told us the other driver's insurance provider is taking forever to settle the claim. We don't dare mention the name of the insurance provider since the last time we did that, we received a cease and desist letter. My, there sure is a lot of farming going on in this state, am I right?